Yes, children. So finally we understood there was a violent activity even in the city Paris and even in the countryside also. Okay. And the next thing we can see that, see here, the most of the people were protesting against the high price of bread, even the food items, that is a necessary factor for the people to survive. Okay, even the price of the food was also increased more and more. So that is the reason even the most of the people were also protesting against the high price of bread. Okay, so that is also one of the reason the many people were protesting or fighting against the high price of bread, increased rate of food items. Okay, and the next one it is much later when historians looked back upon this time, they saw it as the beginning of a chain of events that ultimately led to an execution of the king in France, though most of the people at the time did not anticipate this outcome. So here what they are telling, the many historians when they see, looked back, what they started to think, children, this is one of the beginning of the chain of events. It is one of the beginning for the whatever the events ultimately this led for the execution of the king in France. Finally, this made the monarchy to came to an end. Okay, because earlier we knew that what is the meaning of monarchy? The single king was ruling the entire country. Okay, we have seen even that despotic power, that means it is almost like a dictatorship. So finally this event, this chain of event led to execution of the king in the France, though most of the people were not even expect this situation at that time. Okay, so whatever the issue which has happened, the people were not expected this will happen in this moment. Okay, finally this, the event which happened on the July 14th, it shows like a beginning for the series of event. Okay, let us see why is all of a sudden people started to revolt against the king. There should be some reasons, yes or no, children. For example, let us take uh, in a test or an exam, you people scored less marks. There should be some reasons. One thing, let us take it as an, there was a just let us think that the question paper was tough. That is one reason. And one more thing, you people are so busy you didn't find time to read. And the one more thing, you people didn't study well. Okay, so these three reasons may lead you for the less scoring in the test. The same way, immediately or all of a sudden people will not revolt against the king. Yes or no? There should be some reasons behind this. So that is what we'll be seeing in this entire chapter about what is the main reason. See, how and why did this happen? Whatever the incident which happened on the 1789 July 14th, it has some reasons. Okay, why this incident happened? Let us see what are the issues which happened to make this, the incident. Okay, let us see, children. French society during the late 18th century. So in the 18th century, how this French society was there, let us see to that. Okay, the first thing we can see, in 1774, Louis XVI of the Bourbon family of kings ascended the throne of France. So finally, the Louis XVI in the year of 1774, he became the king of the France. Okay, he belongs to the Bourbon family of kings, and finally he became the king of France. Guys, remember in 1774, Louis XVI became the king. This belongs to Bourbon family of kings. Okay, and the next we can see that he was around 20 years old and married to the Austrian princess Marie Antoinette. So finally, in the year of, when he was around 20 years, he married to a Austrian princess. She was a princess, that is Marie Antoinette. Okay, yes. And the next, he became to power, or he became king in the year of 1774, and at the age of 20 he married to a Austrian princess, that is Mary. And then upon his the accession, the new king found an empty treasury. So just imagine, children, it is very much important. The revenue or the treasury is very much important for a king to run his entire empire. Yes or no? But once this Louis XVI came to power, at his accession, finally his treasure was empty. What will be the reasons to become empty treasure? Let us see, children. See, the first thing we can see that long years of war had drained the financial resources of France. What is the first reason for empty treasure? One, it is there was a long years of war had drained the financial resources of France. One reason is long years of war. And the one more reason is, see, added to this was the cost of maintaining an extravagant court at the immense palace of Versailles. So this is the luxurious, the lavish lifestyle the king and the queens were leading. Okay, it's a place Versailles. They had a palace and their lavish lifestyle. The maintenance cost was also more. So that is also one of the reason. Okay, their lifestyle, the standard of living, the spend, they were spending on their lavish lifestyle is also one of the reasons for the drain in the economic crisis, or the economic, whatever the monetary or the fund they didn't have. Okay. And the next one, it is under Louis XVI, France helped the 13 American colonies to gain their independence from the common enemy Britain. So what is the third reason? First reason is about the continuous war in the France. And the second reason is their lavish lifestyle, the maintenance cost of their, the palace Versailles. That is the one. And the third one, it is the Louis XVI. Under Louis XVI, the France helped the 13 American colonies to gain their independence from the common enemy Britain, because we knew that we have studied about this. I think you have studied in your 8th standard about all these things. Yes or no, children? How British came to India, same way how they started to rule the country, same way they were even controlling some American colonies also. Okay, so that is the reason they were helping this 13 American colonies also. So that's the reason. The one more thing, it made them to lose their treasury. And the next one, it is the war added more than a billion livres to a debt that had already risen to more than 2 billion livres. So finally they took some loans and they started to help, because already the long wars also made to get the loan. So finally it was also like a billion livres, already they had a debt, that is loan, and again they took more and more loans, and almost 2 billion livres loan they have taken. Okay, and the next one, it is lenders who gave the state credit now began to charge 10% interest on loans. So the Louis XVI has taken some loan amount from the other, the lenders. So finally what happens? Those lenders started to put more and more interest on the loan. Okay, that is almost 10% loan, the interest they started to charge. Okay, and the next one, it is, so that is the reason the French government was abolished to spend an increasing percentage of its budget on interest payments alone. So finally, was obliged, sorry, finally what happens, they have to pay the interest to the lenders. So finally what happened, whatever the budget the French government had, the budget, they were about to pay the maximum portion to the only to the interest, because 2 million, the livers, they have taken the loan, they have to pay 10% interest for that. So that's the reason they started to pay more and more from their budget, only the interest to the this lenders. So finally what happens, their treasury will be drained only to meet its regular expenses. So finally, to meet the regular expenses, coming to the the emperor, we know that how much cost it will be to maintain the army, to maintain the court, to maintain the government, everything. Yes or no? So finally, they need money to meet all these expenses. So to meet that expenses, he started to force and increase the taxes. See here, to meet the expenses, see, such as the cost of maintaining an army, as we know that, and the maintaining of the court, and as we know that the Louis XVI was leading his luxurious life, lavish life too for that, and running the government offices and the universities, and the state was forced to increase the taxes. So finally what happened, the taxes were increased more and more. Okay, so finally what happens, children, it is a burden for the people. See, yet even this measure would not have the sufficed. French society in the 18th century was divided into three estates, and only members of the third estate paid the taxes. So in the next class I'll in detail explain about this three estates. Now just remember the three estates names. First estate, it is clergies, nobilities, and the peasants. Clergies, nobles, and the peasants. So finally what happened? Yes, children. So to meet all the expenses of the court or his empire, he started to increase more and more tax. He forced to increase the tax. So finally, you know they may, in the French society, they divide in the 18th century, the people or the citizens were divided into three categories or three groups, that we'll call it as a estates. Guys, remember, into three groups, that is three estates. One, it is the clergy, nobility, and the peasants. Just remember this. The next class I'll be explain in detail about these three categories, which are all the people will be considered as those groups. Only the third estate group people were paid the taxes. Only this people were paying the taxes. Okay, see, and the society of estates was part of the feudal system that dated back to the Middle Ages. So guys, in the next class in detail we'll see about feudal system and the three estate people. This is very much important concept. Okay, so we'll see in the next class what is feudal system, and then which are the three groups of the people, that is the three estate peoples. Okay guys, just remember the three estate people. One, it is clergy, nobility, and the peasants. Okay guys, hope you understood right about in the today's concept, and we'll go for recapitulation. See, which ruler came to power in France in the year 1774? Who, children? Louis XVI. Okay. How did the American War of Independence add more debt to France? Because the France was helping around 13 American colonies. So how it is affected to drain his treasury, that you have to explain. Why did French government increase the taxes? What is the main reason, children? To meet the, yes, the expenses. What are the expenses also you have to explain. Which incident sparked the French Revolution? Which is the incident? There was a rumor that the people thought that the king may ask the to open fire. That's the one reason. And then why was Bastille, the prison, attacked? That you have to explain. Okay. Hope you guys understood the concept. Very small concept. If any doubts, guys, let me know. I'm there to help you out. Okay. Thank you all. Have a nice day, children.